All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone who is tuning in. We're back with another episode of Under Dark Clouds, enjoying our wonderful magical adventures in Serat, the City of Wonders. We are down Osiris tonight, so the rogue is going to be uncharacteristically quiet, but I think everyone else is going to carry the load, so to speak. And while we wait for Marcy to come back, I'll give the brief recap of last week. So our adventurers arrived in Serat, a large metropolitan city, bigger than any they have ever been to, and witnessed some, altercations and things going on in the city, and were quickly introduced to Lady Ether Vale and Llewellyn, the Gutter Sword, as he has now come to be known, who proceeded to have a duel. And we also had a wonderful assassination attempt, which turned out to be targeting Farnak and involved a rather large explosion on the Dwarven beer garden that they were dining at. I don't think any dwarves were hurt in the making of that assassination attempt, though, so the staff survived, so we're all good.
Yeah, that's important.
It is. We would lose one of our filming credits or something if, we intentionally harmed dwarves. So let's go around and everyone say hi and refresh everyone's memory, who they are, who they're playing, that sort of thing. And let's start with our venerable veteran, Max.
Hey, Max, I'm going to be playing Farnak, the group's pork-blooded paladin tank and cantankerous old man with bad knees.
All right, thanks very much. And Colin.
I am playing Lewin O'Quinn, the Gutter Sword of Serat. He is a rakish ne'er-do-well who obviously has a heart of gold. That is, in his heart, he wants gold.
Exactly. I like it. All right, Jeff.
I'm Jeff. I'm playing Wilby Hilltopple, the halfling druid with a limp and broken glasses.
Excellent. And Marcy.
I'm Marcy, and I will be playing Lady Aether Vale. She is a noble woman from the Vale family, an Aragon Asai, who is a bard and definitely has nothing unscrupulous or manipulative planned for this group.
Good.
Nothing
worried
at all.
I believe her completely.
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent. All right. So let's just dive right in. So when we left off, Lady Ether Vale was in the process of leading you back to one of her holdings, estates, houses that either she independently or via her family own in the city. I imagine they probably have multiple locations that they own and operate for various purposes around the city. And Farnak had the unconscious assassin thrown over his shoulder, carting her back, sort of taking the back alleys in this quarter or this section of the city, which is known as the New City. So everything's appropriately quite new. No building in this section is older than 100 years. It's all been pretty recently built. Lots of trees, broad avenues. Even the alleys are relatively clean and clear of, garbage and detritus. There's not a lot of orphans or anything else here. So otherwise it's pretty clear. Okay. So, yes, headed back to one of the many houses that her and her family own for various purposes, with the unconscious assassin through this pretty trendy area of the city. So there's like nobles, merchants, but this is mostly the poorer part of the nobility, like the lower end of the nobility, and the upper end of the craftsmen and artisan kind of live here. There's older, wealthier parts of the city that you guys haven't seen yet, and maybe Lady Vale has holdings there as well. We don't know how rich she is, or at least you don't. All right, so enough of me blathering. What are you guys up to?
How
Well-
bad do I stand out holding this unconscious person over my shoulder?
Well, that's why I kind of assume that you're taking the. Well, you tell me. I kind of assume that maybe you're taking sort of the alleys and stuff. But you could be taking the street. That's up to you guys.
I think we can navigate the back alleys. Lewin would probably know plenty of those as a matter of professional recourse, and Lady Aethervale would probably know those as a matter of noble discretion.
So you're familiar with the ways to get into her place through the back alleys. Understood, understood.
I don't like what you're implying. I'm sorry, Lady Aethervale, did you want to correct him first, or...
Oh, I understand these romances that go on behind parents' backs. I have children myself.
No, romance. You're gonna cause her to throw up, and me shortly thereafter. Don't you? That's super gross. Look at her. Have you looked at her?
Granted, she's the first blue person I've ever seen, but I see nothing wrong with her.
It's those dead shark-like eyes of hers.
I'm sorry,
I'll
you do
keep
not
my
have
mouth
to, you don't have to come with us. I don't understand why you're following anymore. I'm taking my new friends with me to a safe house.
And I'm protecting them for pay, which I've already been given. From you, unless that wasn't clear. I'm protecting them from you, you scurrilous noble.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to talk louder. I can't hear you.
She can hear me. She knows she can hear me. We all know she can hear me, but she's gonna do that every friggin' time I talk.
I'm sorry, I have to enunciate your words. Anyway, this way.
I just believe it does as well to have someone on the upper and the lower crust. Different perspectives in a city I'm not familiar with.
All right, so you guys are navigating, twisting and turning through these dark alleys. Well lit. It's kind of the day, but the shadows. Periodically, you pass someone who looks like they could be sketchy, but they take a quick look, see everyone is fairly well armed and looking for business, and duck out. And you're headed deeper in and getting close to the estate.
I'm not used to buildings higher than 2-3 stories at most. Where are the trees? How does air flow through here?
Poorly and with considerable odor. I think this is probably the point where I ask you fellows where you're from and why you're here.
Oh, we have come to see this great city of Serat. We have heard many things about it.
On purpose.
Oh, yes.
So you heard the things, and the things you heard made you want to come here.
Oh, yes. We had something we thought would be good to bring here. Then we lost it. But we're here now. So we can find it.
All right.
Good.
I'll just let you keep. I'll just let you keep talking. You're giving me quite a bit now.
I came for the library.
Oh, yes. Great libraries. There's much to learn here.
The library, so you can read.
Well, of
That's a
course.
strange question.
Oh no, I can definitely reread. I 100% can read. I was just checking. Sometimes other people can't read, but I can read definitely with my eyes on purpose.
most unfortunate for them.
I'm gonna roll insight. Paranoid old kook gets a 16.
All right, let's see. Passive deception is 16. So you probably suspect that Lewin can't read.
Probably not uncommon where Farnak's from anyway, so doesn't judge.
All right. So you sort of, after, 10, 15 minutes traveling through, you, I think, would find yourself probably at the back door, Lady Vale, back door of the place. Why don't you give us a little bit of, like, what do they see? What does the place look like?
The place is going to be probably attached to a small tower on one of the nicer looking buildings in this lower noble town, probably attached to a shop that sells magical wares. So it's got some nice fortifying walls around it and a tower, and it's going to be the back entrance that goes down, and then there's a secret passage that goes up around a circular staircase into the higher part of the tower.
All right.
And it's furnished. It's very comfortable. There's a couple of pieces on the wall you don't quite get. It's like abstract art. My family loves it. And you're like, where's the person in here? And you're like trying to it's just shapes and stuff.
Perfect. Probably like 2 floors, like a flat kind of split over 2 levels of the tower or something.
Yeah,
all right.
Definitely.
All right. So you guys find your way up. I'm presuming you kind of just lead them up to your to the flat.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I'm just looking at the art.
This is a very nice place. I like your art. It is quite like how I see things sometimes.
That's great to hear. That's how you see things.
Oh yes, when I'm certain critters.
When you're what?
Looking.
When
You're what?
when I'm experiencing the world differently.
All right, I'll let that one sit for now.
I did wonder what you would have seen as a gecko. It's got to be fascinating, the different eyes that you would have as a gecko.
Yes, geckos are quite interesting. The stickiness is nice too.
Now, I do know a fellow who goes by the nickname Gecko, and he's not sticky, so...
See? Geckos are sticky. They're very, very convenient.
Quite a bit.
Yes.
So there's
And
a
does
bit
this
of a
gecko offer you great deals on cot insurance?
So there's a bit of a groan from the assassin Farnak who's slung over your shoulder. You just hear like a...
We should at least lay her out and tie her up. I think we have rope. I can't get it to my bag right now, but if you could lead us to a chair or a bed is something we can just make sure she doesn't escape from. The less comfortable, the better.
There are only comfortable chairs in here. Like incredibly, like magically made comfortable. Like there's no way to make somebody uncomfortable in this chair.
That's such a petty use of magic. I love it.
Either way, we'll make it uncomfortable with the bindings at least.
It's like memory foam, man.
Well, let's find a chair and get this over with. I have interrogations to start. You're welcome to ask questions if you've never interrogated anyone before, just for the shits and giggles.
Oh, I've interrogated people before. I've done it. I'm going to pull up a very comfortable armchair with its like own what's the thing called? It's like the footstool kind of thing. It's
Ottoman.
Ottoman, yeah. With like its own ottoman that's attached, and point them in the direction. It's like the only one that could, because the armrests are slightly separate from the rest of the chair. There you go. I don't know how you do this. I was going to watch. Just I'm interested. Show. I know how to interrogate somebody. You know, but other people might not. So why don't you show me how it's done?
Well, first, how do you mind blood getting all over these beautiful, comfortable chairs of yours?
Yes, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yes, had quite the fall up of the building, after all, and me falling on her. So I'll go about tying her to that chair.
Okay.
If I could get some assistance, do I need to roll anything like with the older editions?
No.
Okay.
I'm sure Lewin can assist you with that.
Wilby will hold up a wand and we could cover her in spider web.
Does sound interesting. I was thinking we could put a flask of alchemist's fire behind her, and if she struggles too much, it bursts.
Ooh, that would do very well with the spider web.
You're kind of scaring me, Wilby. But I appreciate the assistance. So, I'll give her a flick to the nose with and put 1 point of healing into her from my healing hands.
Okay. All right. So after you have her tied up, she's sitting there sort of slumped forward. Her hair is hanging down over her face, and you flicker in the nose, and there's like a brief little golden spark as a minute amount of healing surges in, just enough to sort of help wake her up, and her eyes kind of go wide for a minute, and you can see like a little bit of panic, like when she's first waking up and realizing that she's bound, and then she just looks up at you and sort of narrows her eyes and looks at you, and her mouth just twitches in a bit of a smile, and she kind of shakes her head and she says, "Yep, definitely too big of hassle for what I was getting paid."
Wilby just looks there. Hello.
No. Why were you being paid to kill me?
Someone took out a
I might have
contract.
done it for free.
Someone took out a contract. I took a contract. I didn't really ask many questions beyond that.
And with your fail, what becomes of the contract?
Oh, well, depends on the client, I suppose. But I'm sure that another will come. Wouldn't do to lose business. Not fulfilling a contract.
So I have to put up with more of you. Ugh.
Well,
Getting too old for this garbage.
that or you find out who took the contract and eliminate them. No contract, no problem.
I hope I'm not
I'd be interested
interrupting.
in-
What were you supposed to do if you succeeded?
Well, proof of success is usually required, although I was led to believe that part of that could be ascertained magically, but if possible, I would have, chopped off a finger or something to make the whole process a little easier.
Lewin's gonna turn and look at Farnak with a very large grin.
Are you working for the Shadowed Hand too? Going for the playoff?
No, I've made quite a bit of money off you guys already. I'd like to keep you alive and see how far that goes. However, she just said that proof of death, right? A finger. How many you've got? You got 9 left after the first one, right?
She also said magic source to prove the point. If they have something of me, they can track me.
Yes.
Done it before.
You hire, a shady mage or two. Easy enough to pull a little scrying. Make sure that the target is indeed deceased.
Which is why I kept all the hair I dragged out of her head as she almost fell off the building. Into
Very
the bag
gross.
mold, and it goes.
But smart, but gross. No, my point was more that if she needed to bring in some kind of proof that you were dead, then, well, we could just sort of follow along and see who set it all up.
I have a good guess who set it up. I'm more interested in when the contract was taken out on me and how long I have before they show up on their own to pay for the rest of the deal. I'm not quite ready to give up my fingers yet, though.
Oh, don't worry about that. I could find you a finger.
So the assassin, seated in the chair, sort of, as much as she can while bound, sort of shrugs her shoulders a little bit and says, well, I know I got my instructions from my superiors a few weeks ago. Been watching, waiting, preparing ever since. When they got the contract, I don't know.
Weeks ago, so that would be 2 weeks to leaving Oak Hill. So they're 2 weeks behind us at the least, because I left a note with us, with the local innkeeper in our hometown, telling them to come find me if they dared. Then they sent an assassin, which is insulting. So I believe we have about 2 weeks before they get here. Now, with that knowledge, and the money that they gave you up front to pay for some of this, I assume, we really have no reason to keep you alive.
I can think of a few. Just
Well-
like 3 off the top of my head.
Well, if you do indeed want to try and find this person who took out the contract, you're going to need me to do that.
Right, so like 2 other reasons.
So, I know the names, but the location is something I don't know, but also setting you free after you blew up a restaurant trying to kill me. I think that's making Lady Aether a little bit perturbed at you as well.
I was told you were tough and that I should accomplish the task quickly. It seemed expedient. Shame it wasn't big enough.
Should have sent a wolf that breathes ice. I have a bad history with them. But beside the point, what are the other 2 reasons? Because I'm kind of running out and I don't really know where to go from here.
So this may come from the fact that you're not from Serat, but one thing the city tends to take pride in is a certain ethic of professionality. Not an actual ethic, mind you, we don't have those, but a sort of veneer of ethicality. Namely, an assassin who's bad at her job is not long for this world. Knowing that, this assassin is undoubtedly aware that her prospects, moment by moment, shrink and shrink and shrink. And that's exactly the sort of person that you can leverage into helping you because you're frankly the best and safest game in town at this moment. And Lewin's going to look over at her and wink and say, isn't that right?
And you can see her, she's pretty composed, but you can see just like a subtle twitch and pull sort of at the corner of her eyes and her mouth and a little bit of whitening. I don't think anyone else can quite read it, but you can instinctively see that you've read her like an open book, and she's a little worried that you've got such great depth of insight on what's going on.
And of course, the third reason is if we kill her, Lady Aethervale will not shut up for months about ruining this, would you call it an Afghan on the rug? Or is that a different kind of rug? I don't know. You have so many kinds of rugs.
She ran my entire balcony.
It was made of dwarven stone.
So number 3 is just so I can annoy Lady Aethervale. But I think 2 is a compelling one, as is number 1, which you correctly identified.
So her life is forfeit.
As this is going on, I want to be giving our hostage a back rub.
And is this sort of like the looming, menacing kind of back rub, like in behind, where it's making someone really uncomfortable, or uncomfortable for totally other reasons?
I think I can do a healthy mixture of both.
Okay. I'm not sure whether you should make an intimidation or persuasion check.
Intimasuasion.
Intimidation.
But
I look at Wilby. I look at them and I'm just like, city folk.
Can I though?
Absolutely.
People are most strange.
Got a 13.
All right. And is that intimidation or persuasion? Oh, I didn't hear.
Sorry, persuasion.
Persuasion. Okay. She's, sitting there. Her shoulders are definitely tense. And she's kind of like, almost quivering a little bit where she's tied in the chair.
As you seem to be more familiar with the way cities handle assassins, where in the north we just crush their skulls after we get what we need from them.
Right. That's
Karnak is saying this knowing he's never had to deal with an assassin before, but just bad cop.
Yeah. And I think Lewin would play into that as well and be like, "Oh, Farnak, temper that bestial, brutish attitude. We're more civilized here. We treat our assassins with a little bit of respect even after they failed. Quite embarrassingly, no offense meant."
She sort of sniffs with a little bit of indignation. She's like, "I am a professional after all."
Lewin's going to hold up the bag when he goes, "No, professionals get paid."
Her eyes narrow. She sort of glares daggers. Like I said, wasn't nearly enough for the trouble.
Should we step out? Should we step into another room and discuss the actual fate of this one?
And to think I spent half of the upfront payment on getting those alchemical munitions.
Who we got them from as well. Did they know what your purpose was? Out of curiosity.
Oh, well, let's just say that we have contracts.
Not just say that. You're going to tell me.
Give me, this time, an intimidation check.
It's going to be a 19.
Okay. So you can see her sort of wilt a little bit under the tension, as you're in behind her. Give me a little bit of flavor of how you said that when you in behind and looming.
My intonation is very similar, but I imagine these sorry, my mouth is full of carrot. One second.
Oh, Marcy.
I just talking with my mouth full.
She is of all of the ways that she resembles Bugs Bunny. I think her love of carrots is up there.
Um, so my intonation is very similar. However, I imagine Lady Itherville has these like nails that are long and pointed, and I just like I start raking the assassin with those nails, and with one hand like clenched on one of her shoulders, I bring the other one up her neck and just start piercing into it as I say that.
All right, and you can feel sort of like quiver as her, breath quickens a little bit, and then there's like an audible and to everyone else sort of visible swallow, and she just says, "The hand has a contract with the double check, yeah, with House Nandar. So I would imagine that it's a bit of a don't ask, don't tell sort of policy. They really don't ask too many questions. They don't want to know any details. Someone supplies them with gold. They supply us with munitions. It's made business pretty thriving."
Right. I think we should talk at this point about, and he's going to turn and point at the newcomers. Goes, what you're looking to get out of Serat and your stay here, because every step we take from this point forward should be with dire purpose. Because Serat tends to be a place where you walk on a razor's edge. To one side, your success, and the other, the opposite.
And the assassin sort of speaks up. She says, "Calamitous failure?"
No, we're not talking about your last mission, no.
I did not realize libraries were so dangerous.
This is why we hire local. They have the information we need.
Yes. Very good thinking, Pernick.
Now, I agree that we should leave the room and discuss things out of sight, though is there a way we can make sure this slippery one doesn't sneak out of our bindings as we go?
I have this suspicion that Lady Aethervale is quite good at tying knots.
Oh, no, you are. But anyway, I'm gonna have.
This is why I assume that you know from experience.
Can I have a retainer? Can I send a message for a retainer to come in and just start like feeding the assassin? Just, like so much food, maybe too much food.
Sure. Is it sort of like, do you ring a bell? Do you?
I'm just envisioning. Is there like, oh god, it's not like Heroes Feast. It's more like Be Our Guest.
Just this parade of servants with plates.
Like
Weird
that
gray
here
stuff.
is uncomfortable, but in the right context, we can make it very uncomfortable for somebody.
Yeah. So definitely constructs and construct servants of various kinds are relatively normal in Serat to anyone who has the money to do them. And so mostly they're usually made to resemble people, right? Sort of like Warforged, like that kind of thing. But
One resembles a dinner table.
yeah, but
Yes.
some people get constructs made to look like regular furniture and things like that, almost like Transformers, but like magical. And they don't necessarily transform into like humanoid, but like they can move and do stuff. So
The table transforms from a table into a magical table.
yeah, and certainly some people do, because animate object is so like, that's blasé. Anybody can do that. That just requires a spell that lasts for a while, right? But the money that you have to sink into doing artifice to make something look like a regular object, but it is actually aware, potentially sentient. People aren't actually entirely sure about that one. And do your bidding. I mean, that costs more money. And if anything, among the nobility of Serat, if it costs more, it's better. So yeah, I imagine you sort of give some sort of signal of some kind, and various pieces of the furniture kind of come to life and start doing your bidding. Um,
One of those glass viewing I don't know what to call it. Not a vase, but like a just a tray kind of thing with a
oh
glass
yeah, yeah,
cylinder on top, and I take it out and there's like a small bell.
yeah.
Underneath, I just ring the bell, and a table in the far corner like springs to life and starts galumping over with it, with various like trays on top of it, just ringing and scattering from side to side,
um,
clanking along.
and I can imagine that like there's a coat rack that is basically the butler. Sort of
Like, take
animates.
her hat, but she doesn't have a hat, so it's just messing up her hair.
Yeah, and something sort of starts feeding her, weirdly feeding her like dainty foods, but it just won't stop. It just continuously just shoves things in her mouth and won't stop until told
She can like
otherwise.
like turn her face, but it's still just gonna like drop it on her.
Yeah, and then
So
smear all of her
yeah,
face with food.
this will keep her busy for about an hour.
Yeah.
This is like
It's a 5-course dinner with some like gastro sciences going on.
this is like so much more uncomfortable for some reason than like normal torture. Just like start cutting her. This is so weird.
Cheesecake till she dies of a cholesterol overdose.
It's the wackiness of it that makes it weird. It's all in the uncanny valley.
This
Yeah,
is
There's another
most
room.
unusual, yes.
Yes, very much.
All right. So we're stepping out into the hallway, and the question really is like, what is your goal here? Because Lewin is fully prepared to bend his resources and expertise towards that. He's not someone who likes to be idle for long, and he's found all of this fascinating and intriguing enough where he's willing to put aside his usual business of slapping up nobility for other nobility.
First off, I need to change into something a little less comfortable. Is there a vanity curtain nearby that isn't going to stare at me as I change into my real armor?
Lewin just shrugs and looks at Lady Aethervale.
I don't want it to come to life and try and help me put my clothes on. That's rather weird.
And I have some bad news for you about this place.
Because I can do it right here in the hall. I am not shy. And
I'm gonna point at like
buckling.
2 wardrobes, and I'll be like, "Take your pick. That one is less aggressive, but still aggressive."
I'll go to the closest one. I can still hear you. Keep talking. Wilby, why don't you fill them in? And then he starts just disrobing, unbuckling his leather armor, and you can just hear it sounds like tin cans falling and clattering as plate armor, if anyone's heard that, hitting a stone floor.
Yeah. So in the place where you're changing, both the curtain and the sort of, it's kind of like a coat rack or hat rack, but like for hanging clothes on. So it's got these long limbs, right? So periodically they go to like help you like unbuckle things.
Fine.
And then it's actually surprisingly efficient. It's like pretty brusque and down to business. There may or may not be some fondles that may or may not be accidental.
As this is happening, we can fill them in.
So I am most confused at what we are doing here. And what the furniture is doing.
First, we came here with an artifact, and we were planning on getting it somewhere where they could study it.
Oh, yes. Okay.
What
So
kind of artifact are you looking at?
we got it. Well, we we had a
You were
thing that
excited, will be.
I did. It was most interesting, but it, it's a thing we referred to as the heart. It was part of a giant device the Thayers were putting together, and we thought it should stay away from them, and we thought the library here in Serat would be a good place to store it and study it.
Can I?
But then the adamantine circle came and took it.
Yes, then we lost it, and our cart, and Zyrus.
The adamantine
gone again.
circle, you say?
Yes, we believe so.
I show them my my sigil for it.
Yeah, and so
that is very pretty.
So it's a familiar sigil. So she's got it's like a blue enameled crest with a chain link around the outside and a flame in the middle, which is sort of the generic symbol for the adamantine circle.
That is very similar. Yes.
That's because I should have known Lady Aether Vale was one of them.
This is most convenient.
It's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say it like it was a bad thing. I meant to say it like it was the worst thing.
No, not the worst thing. No, I tell me what it is. I can see if I can procure it for you.
It's like a big rock. It's a big brown object that has designs on it, and
It's about
Inside?
10 feet across.
yes, big.
That's right. I'll check with our guilds tomorrow in the morning and see what I can find out for you. When exactly did they take it? That will help me locate it.
To be,
How long ago was that?
It
it was about
prob-
2 weeks.
Yeah, it'd be like a week ago.
Yeah.
The-
Yeah.
To be
Sorry.
fair, do we really need it back? We were planning on bringing it to Serat to take to the library, and if they took it from us that easily, what's to keep them from just taking it from the library? Maybe it's safer in their hands. We're trying to keep it from the Thayers, and
There's very little I could recommend about the circle that would fit the word capable or safe or...
Push his head away. And say, well, you could have had that thought a week ago and you didn't, and you're here now. So obviously this is of some importance to you.
I didn't
Yes,
even know about the circle.
Sorry.
I didn't even know that the circle was a thing. It's a common word up north. At this point,
Yes.
Farnack steps out and he's just got leather breeches on and pulling on a metal boot that's black with a starry motif to it that glitters. I'm just going to come out here so I can hear better.
Lady Vale. So you see Farnack clad in this armor, which actually looks a lot like the armor of his character portrait that is in behind him. So it's inky black, but with points of light. So when you look into it, it looks like you are looking into a starscape. And it shifts subtly, periodically. There is something very familiar to you about this armor.
Can I attempt a check for it, or I could attempt to identify it?
Yeah, you could do either approach. I think a general intelligence check or proficiency in something like history, something like that would work. You could also do something like identify as well, but I think that there is something definitely tickling your knowledge.
I got a 21.
At 21, yes, you absolutely, it snaps into place because this piece of armor was unique, although it has not been seen in the city for over 10 years. But the last person who wore this armor was appropriately known as the Knight of Stars, and he was the champion and main bodyguard of the last High King. Although the Knight of Stars went missing about a few months before the High King himself died.
He's only got the lower half on, and he's got his shirt off, and we've kind of decided he looks like modern day Arnold Schwarzenegger. Great big, saggy muscles and everything, but just a huge gnarled scar right under his sternum, where an arrow had gone in, and he's just kind of pulling his shirt off. Wilbur, what were you saying about?
I'm sorry. You see my eyes narrow as I'm looking down the armor, but I don't go into it. You can tell I'm interested at least. I look to Wilby and I say, well, we were just talking about why you're even here anymore and where you might be going next if the hat isn't that important to you. What are you doing here?
Oh,
We lost your voice,
you're
Wilbur.
muted, Jeff, I think.
Our purpose was to come to the city, and we have to bring the heart here.
That wasn't technically my purpose. I just tagged along.
We are not entirely sure where it is. We just have clues.
I think there might be a better question than Lady Aethervale's clumsy, fumbling attempts at sociability. Sorry, love, it's true, though. What I think is the real question is why. Not what you're doing, but why you're doing it. What sort of care do you have at all? If you're just tagging along, well, you don't look like a passenger. Passengers don't wear armor like you. They don't carry yourself like you. And I point at Willie. And little men like you don't carry tremendous powers hidden, but with the desperate naivete of a child. No offense meant.
The city is new to me, yes. Part of my reason is to experience more.
And a Cheshire grin on Lewin's face at that. Well, finally, I think something that I can help you with will be, my
very
friend,
good.
you are about to experience a night out on the town in Serat, and not the sort that Lady Aethervale would give you. No, the real sort.
Oh, this sounds most pleasant, yes.
Will be. Grain of salt. Grain of salt. We
I
pay him.
could do plenty of things that are fun and interesting and adventurous for these people.
Right, but this will be on our feet.
I don't.
No, you two.
Is it because I float? I don't understand.
That's right. It's unnatural, and I don't like when you do that.
There's a bit of a crash from the other room. You hear like a thud of something hitting the floor and the distinctive sound of like dishes going like clattering off and smashing onto a floor.
Under the table. I'm gonna go out and check on the table.
Thank you.
The table at the moment is sort of doing that like dog-like prance when something bad has happened and they don't know what to do about it, as the table kind of goes back and like is hopping from foot to foot. The chair is tipped over its back with the assassin in it, sort of kicking her feet. The hat rack is sort of now like leaning over her, still trying to shove food into her mouth. And a lot of the meal that was like on the table has like scattered off onto the floor. It looks like she basically managed to leverage herself enough to like kick the table with both feet and sort of shove it, which also then sent her tumbling backwards. And she's just yelling, "No, no more, no, no, I can't take another, no."
So I'll run over and try to comfort the table.
Lovely.
You start patting the table. It seems to
It's
sort
okay.
of soothe it. I mean, it's acting sort of animal like, but yeah.
Right, which is what got my.
Yeah.
Oh no, the table is named Din Din, by the way.
Din
Din Din.
the table.
Oh, Din Din. Very nice to meet you.
Of course it
yes.
is.
So at this point, we say I'm fully armored.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got my cloak, and it shimmers and turns to be more green, more the colors of the Green Company, with the greens and golds.
Mhm.
And I put on the helmet down. I've got the halfling harness on, a sheath with the flail sheath and shield up and everything, and go, no. The reason I'm here is more escorting it. We had plenty of friends bringing down the stone. It was a good excuse to come. We had to get rid of it in the north as it was. Whether the Adamantine Circle even knows what to do with it, I don't know how to stop them from using it if they wanted to. I came because, as you may have noticed, I am quite old. And my body is not what it needs to be when these killers come looking for me. Now, this caught me off guard, and I'm glad I'm alive, but I came because I either need a new body or an extended lifespan. And Serat is the only place I know to find that.
If you'll forgive me, you need to find the draught that will restore youth to you.
If such a thing even exists. I have also spoken with an undead creature of immense power that told me there were darker ways to achieve it, and I do not want to go that route. Unless, of course, I need to use certain people on my list as victims to achieve it. But if there's alchemical ways to do it, or things I can get as a spell, I'd much prefer that than having to do anything I'm going to live long enough to regret.
Well, the Adamantine Circle has their resources to get you what you need.
Of course, the Adamantine Circle would promise the world if it suited their purpose.
It's they actually have you and got a sword.
The assassin, for the moment, like kind of turns her head and like spits out some food that was being shoved in, and just blurts out, "Fisher Witch."
Oh, I think our interrogation is working.
But at that moment, there is a cracking sound as something pops in through one of the windows that's on the exterior of this, like something thrown through. A little ball that kind of smashes through the window and hits on the floor nearby, and then boof, blossoms into darkness, just an inky sphere of black that appears near the window.
Ooh, I am going to like tear my sword out of its scabbard and dive roll towards the window, or where I last remember the window being.
As you do, go ahead and give me a perception check with disadvantage.
Okay, the good news is perception is one of my expertises, so I got a +8. 13 and 19, so 13 plus 8 is a 21.
Okay, so as you sort of tuck and roll like into the blackness, and then you can't see, but you can hear the sound of feet sort of alighting on the windowsill, and sort of feel the brush of air as a body goes to like lunge, presumably sort of through and past and into the room.
So I'm not gonna do anything like fancy, like try and attack it. I'm just gonna like launch my own body in the way, and hopefully, like we get tangled up.
All right. So yeah, as you do, you sort of like move your body sideways, and this figure collides into you, and sort of both of you go stumbling, sort of 2 steps back into the room. Why don't you go ahead and give me a dexterity saving throw?
Oh no! Oh no! 3 plus something. 3 plus 7. Oh wow! 3 plus 7. Okay, 10.
Okay. So the impact sort of sends you stumbling back off of your feet. But the good news is the figure is entangled with you as well, and sort of tumbles and sprawls into the room, and quickly looks over where they see the assassin laying on the floor. The figure that has kind of come into the room is quite lithe, very, very thin, and sort of tightly wrapped in leathers and black cloth. Every bit of, metal, loose metal is like tied down with black bits of cloth, blacked out, rubbed, has a half mask up over the lower part of their face and this really tight fitting hood. And their hands are empty as they sort of just came, sprawling into the room. And then you can see sort of a bag or like a mesh sack with a couple of other sort of spheres inside.
Can we see?
You can now because they've stumbled out of the darkness. So the momentum carried them out of this bit of darkness, and then they tumbled into the floor. And the person sort of is now in the process of like looking around and moving to try and get up where they're disentangled with Lewin on the floor.
Oh, can I hold person them?
Absolutely.
Yes, I would like to hold person them.
Okay, so I gotta make a wisdom save.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that was cocked. And what is your spell save DC?
My DC is 13.
13. Okay. They actually just make it. So you can, you reach out with this spell and it goes to sort of enmesh around them. And as it sort of sinks into their body, you can see the arcane energies fracture and then just fall apart in dust as they manage to push themselves to their feet and take sort of a couple of steps towards the assassin that's laying on the floor.
I'm gonna try my own hold person. Never done this before.
Okay.
All right, so DC 14.
All right.
I am having such trouble pinning down what. Like, I know he's like a rogue, but he has so many facets to him, more than just like rogueness. It's really fun.
So Farnak, as you kind of reach deep, clutching your symbol of your faith and cast Hold Person, this time the divine energies kind of reach out and shackle around them. So you can sort of visibly see almost like arcane chains snapping into place briefly around the person as they sort of then lock in place. They're sort of like, halfway through a step.
I lined him up for you.
Oh, we're not done with her yet.
I'm just gonna have a collection of assassins. Force fed by
Does this happen every time someone says fishy witch?
That's awesome.
Nothing else seems to happen. And the person is not, is not speaking.
Someone get the bag.
Yeah, I'm still extracting
Bag of
myself out of my cape right now.
Yeah, sort of tangled around you on the floor. But you definitely, sent this person tripping over you kind of across the carpet. And yeah, they're just
Be a good lad
standing
and get that bag of whatever that is. We don't want any more of that darkness.
Oh, Oh yes, and I'll go over to him and say, I'm sorry, I have to take this.
And their eyes are just like flooding around, so they're completely paralyzed. Their eyes are sort of just moving, and she growls, "I wouldn't take that if I were you."
Oh, but you already have it out. Well, we can return it. I go and try and take it off.
So yeah, so you see the bag, and it's like a mesh sack, but where it's kind of attached to the belt, you can see that it's sort of intricately tied, and there's a bit of a device there. It's attached like a little black square, and you can see a couple of like runic inscriptions on it that the tethers, like the strings of the bag, kind of slide into.
We get to make another saving throw by this point, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm keeping track of roughly rounds.
Yeah, does it look like something that the House of Nandar might produce?
That is a good question. So the balls, or the way that the bag and stuff is sort of attached.
I'm taking a cursory glance over all of it because I know they have this. I don't know. I don't want to call it an aesthetic thumbprint, but it's basically what it is attached to it. So I'm just sort of eyeballing for that sort of identifier for both.
Right. Yeah.
Not that I want to know what it is, but more or less where it came from and if that's identifiable.
Okay. I think that even without a check, it doesn't look to you like House Nandar's work. House Nandar tends to make weapons. They do make, alchemical munitions, and so they dabble in some magic. But they've got a real functional aesthetic. They don't make pretty stuff. There's no, Steve Jobs or Johnny Ives on their design team. So it's purely utilitarian. They don't get very fancy. And even though looks like a pretty simple device, it's glossy black. It's got sort of rounded edges to the squares. It doesn't look like their work. It looks too well made, too nice.
And it's like the drawstrings of the bag are going through this device.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it look like I could cut the bag off underneath the device with my dagger?
Maybe there is a little bit of a gap there.
Yeah, I'll try to do that. Say, oh, this looks most interesting, yes?
And, she just looks at you sort of almost sadly for a moment and just says, "You can try."
Not that important, will be.
I wouldn't.
Is this Assassin 1 or 2 saying this?
The newcomer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while I'm there, I'll just look up at her and I'll try casting Charm Person on her.
Okay. Just gonna make another wisdom.
It's a DC 15.
All right, she is charmed. You can see, as you sort of put together some string of words, her face gets a little bit more placid.
I just look at her and say, "Why did you come here?"
To take care of loose ends.
Oh, there's no loose ends here.
And remind me again, charm person. Does it give you like advantage on social checks?
Yeah. Advantage on. Yeah, so they're
Friendly
charmed.
acquaintance.
Not sure.
Oh yeah, so it resembles you as a friendly acquaintance. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And so they just say, "Oh, I mean, you think? I think she's a loose end."
we're all good here. It was just a misunderstanding.
Oh, I mean, look, friend. I think maybe you're just not aware of all of the facts. I mean, I my
please,
associates and I
let us
just
know.
can't have a loose end like this hanging out in
And,
the wind.
Who are your associates again?
Well, the Shadowed Hand, of course.
Oh yes, of course. I mean, your contact. Who's that?
My contact?
Yeah, who told you there were loose ends here?
Benin told me there was loose ends here.
Bitten did. Oh
Yeah.
yes, that makes sense.
And then as she says that, her jaw kind of clenches and she shakes her head and just says, "Ooh, that was a good trick, wily little one. Good trick indeed."
I'm moving over to straddle the assassin one. Kind of just be there with my shield out.
I think by now I've managed to disentangle myself.
Oh yes, absolutely. It's been like, 18, 20 seconds at least.
I throw the cape around and I've got my sword ready and I see what's going on. I'm like, all right, glad I could fix that for you fellas. I sheathe my blade and kneel down and I go, well, you did just a bang up job, right? Like the first one, really. I am super impressed with all of you so far. But assuming that were just a big old lie, how would you like to just go home now?
And you just see a smile sort of creep across her face. And unseen to you, but seen in the camera that pans out for the audience, her hand was like creeping towards her pouch as she rolled a natural 20 on her sleight of hand check. And her deception about the shaking off the effects of the hold person, and plucked out one of these orbs and just flicked it down at her feet. And it impacts on the ground, and another sphere of darkness emanates from it. And I need everyone to roll me initiative.
Oh, no. Nat 20.
7.
All right.
So
Nat
that
20.
is
Excellent.
27.
27. And she got...
16.
I have a regular 7.
All right. So we've got a 16 from Lady Vale, 7 from Fireneck. Wilby,
13 for me.
13. Okay, so Lewin, you are the first to act.
So being that I'm in the dark, I don't exactly know where she's gone. I don't know if she got a surprise round. I don't know if she's moved. Or I'm sorry, the new assassin is a he.
Yes.
The old one is a she. Okay.
They, actually. You're not sure yet if it's male or female.
Fair. Okay. So I don't know where they've gone or might have gone. But I know roughly where my compatriots have been.
Yep.
Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and put myself in a position where I know where they could come from if they were going to attack either Farnak and the assassin,
Okay.
or the rest of them. So I want to sort of ready in action to if they come within hear sight.
Yep.
Ear sight, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm within ear sight. I want to try and get something, but I'm not going to try flailing at him.
Okay.
With my action.
Okay. And so with that, actually, as you kind of step into place, and so Farnak is standing over Assassin 1, right? Who's he's still in the chair, kind of tied to it. So you step in between where you think Assassin 2 was and Farnak and Assassin 1. And all right. And you can feel and sort of hear as someone essentially kind of dives to tumble sort of through your space to get by you. But their foot seems to have caught on the rug, which is probably flopping around in a bit of agitation over all this bother in the room, and sort of trips them up a little bit as they like tumble in. And go ahead and use your readied action. You can totally sense this person like diving through your legs.
Okay. Another net 20. Okay, yeah. So I'll roll damage, but I'm not actually aiming to kill. I want to trip them up.
Okay. Yep.
So that is, if I roll damage, 3 plus 6 plus my attribute 4, 10 damage.
All right. So there's like a sickening crack as you kind of bring the butt end of your rapier down, and it cracks into, you think part of their skull as they, go to move past you. And they're, so they do that. And I'm going to say that they basically try and disengage from you and sort of like, they're trying to maneuver around you a little bit, but they're still in the darkness, and that is them. Lady Vale, what are you doing in all of this kerfuffle?
Let me, I was reviewing my spells. I'm wondering, I'm wondering if, oh yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I am going to cast Dimension Door.
All right.
Put myself outside of the window, and I'm just gonna wait for them. I just like outside and then down on the ground with my arms folded and like finger tapping.
Okay, excellent. I like it. So there's a bit of a sound that everyone can hear, which is quite literally like reality has been torn open. You can hear this ripping, tearing sound. The air.
It sounds oddly like Banff.
Yeah. And there's a bit of a rush of wind as it sort of pops through and like a popping sound, and then Lady Vale disappears. Wilby, and you're in blackness. All of you are in total inky blackness at the moment.
Right. And I was right next to Assassin 2 when this happened, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think you guys were sort of clustered around them.
Yeah. So I am going to turn into a panther.
Okay.
And as a panther, can I sense if there's still somebody in front of me?
Yeah, go ahead and make a perception check.
Yeah, that's a 23.
Okay. Yeah, you heard this like couple of steps. I mean, they were very soft steps, someone with assassin shoes or whatever you call them, kind of like ballet slippers or something, skittering through and heard them basically try and slide through Lewin's space and all the commotion. So you have at least a rough idea of where they are.
Okay, and I assume Lewins are 2, but I am going pounce in that direction.
Okay.
And just see if I can pounce on them.
Okay. So go ahead and you can make an attack roll with disadvantage because you're still technically blinded.
Actually, I can't because Wild Shape is an action for me.
Oh, right, not a bonus action.
So,
so you pounce sort of with your movement and sort of land in their
just
vicinity.
to try land on them.
Okay, excellent. Farnak.
With absolutely nothing to do, I'm just taking the full defensive stance, shield up, flail out, just trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Listening, but I'm listening for anything to raise my shield up and protect myself with.
All right, excellent. Lewin.
Sorry, hurriedly eating some delicious chicken masala.
I'm jealous.
So Did I hear the BAMF?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think I've worked with. I want to say worked with, but like not worked with. I know Lady Vale well enough to know that she probably teleported out. Regardless, I want to make a mistake. I want
Okay.
to like pointedly overextend myself such that they have an escape route,
Okay.
and I don't want to make it look intentional.
Okay. So like an escape route towards the window, past you,
Yes.
or
Yeah, towards the window and out
okay.
of here.
So in my mental space, just to like orient it, I'm sort of envisioning that the window would be if I'm them and I'm facing you, that it's to my right, so to your left.
Okay.
And their original intention seemed to be go through you to where Farnak is, sort of like in behind you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, in which case I'm gonna try and press them with an attack that like presses their left, which would be my right, like
Yep.
too much. So it seems like the easiest way to go would be to my left, which would be near the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So why don't you go ahead and give me a deception check?
Ooh, it's like I'm really good at that.
Yeah.
Not a nat 20 this time. 9 plus 6, 15.
Okay. All right. So you sort of batter with the attack and sort of lead a deliberate feint. There's like a sort of a hurried parry kind of your blades all in the darkness. And they do indeed seem to think that that place is open. But their main intent seems to be to get to the assassin. And so they're going to try and move through your space again. So you can oppose this with either athletics or acrobatics.
Okay, acrobatics. I'm going to try and do like the opposite of what contortionists usually do. They usually contort themselves to get out of places. I'm trying to put myself in one. 2. So that's only a 9.
All right. They didn't fare much better, but their total came out to a 10. So they managed to sort of just barely slip by you, sort of underneath that guard on the open side. They kind of duck past it to slide through, and they reach out their hand. They sort of dive. Farnak, you can sense more than see, but you can feel them sliding towards you. But you've readied yourself defensively. They slide across the floor and just grab their hand around the assassin that's on the floor. But that is their turn. And Lady Vale, you are outside, foot tapping, standing on the alley, sort of outside of the window.
Okay, I'm gonna yell up something. Give me a second. I'm trying to figure out. I know some languages. Only a couple though. But I don't think that matters that much. Oh, do I want to blow up my own place? That's the because I still have that shaft thing, and I could just like lob it into the window, right?
That's true.
Technically, I could destroy your building too.
I know, and it could destroy all of you all, and I don't want to destroy all of you all yet. So, it doesn't actually quite matter, does it? Can I? Oh gosh, I don't think it matters. We got everything that we were gonna get out of this person. I'm gonna pay off
Won't
a
hold
guard.
it against you.
Hmm?
Won't hold it against you.
If I blow up my own building? What we can specify what you're not gonna hold against me. Like you're in the building.
No, dude. You do you. This is gonna be hilarious no matter what you do.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay. I'm gonna wait out here for a second.
Okay.
I'm just curious at this point. I would like to cast detect magic though. Just to keep an eye on the schools going on up there
Okay.
and around me.
Yeah.
See
So
if anything happens or changes.
yeah, I'd say like you can see some emanations probably from whatever it was that created this sphere of blackness. So that's probably, I guess, alteration. Yeah, it could conceivably be conjuration, summoning shadow stuff or something. Actually, I like that. Yeah, that sounds way cooler than just alteration or illusion. They literally conjure things from the plane of shadow to create this sphere of darkness. It's like
Okay.
opening a little gateway through the realms. And so you can still see some of the energies crackling out. The sphere of darkness that was on the window has faded. That is winked out. But there's the one still active in the rooms. Will be.
Can I tell specifically where Assassin 2 is?
Probably. I think you've sensed their movement. It would be
Right.
something like an attack roll would give you disadvantage, but at the moment they're also prone, so those kind of things are going to equal out.
Yep. I'm going to try pouncing on him.
Okay, because they literally only
Yeah.
moved like 5 feet.
Yeah.
Basically.
So if they're there and kind of on the floor, I'm just going jump on them and try bite the shoulder,
Okay.
or where I think the shoulder is.
Yeah. Could be their butt. Who knows?
Yeah. That is bite 19.
Oh yeah, you feel your fangs sinking in to nice round muscle somewhere.
Excellent. 8 points of damage.
Whew. All right. There is like a horrible, scream of pain. Hot blood filters into your mouth.
And I'm just going to stand on them.
All right. And you're standing on them. Farnak.
All right, so I'm going to try and reach down, find the chair that the assassin is strapped to, and I'm just going to try and just lift it and this elven assassin out of the way, off the floor of this person. Do I get the sense that whoever's in there can actually see in the shadow? They seem to have no purpose. They seem to know where they're going.
I don't know if you would know, because you haven't seen anything. You've just heard scuffles of movement and things.
Okay, my intention are to pick up the off the chair and try and back as far out and see if I can get out of the shadowy area.
Okay. So go ahead and give me, I guess, like a athletics check.
All right.
It's a pretty heavy chair.
It's a heavy chair. Of course, everything has to be heavy in these expensive places with their extra pillow tops. And I am proficient in athletics, +6. That's a 19 plus 6. So, yeah, there we go, 25.
All right. So you grab the chair and sort of reef on it, and there's a bit of resistance as, this person is holding to it. But then you can feel the body of, Assassin 2 being like drug with the chair a little bit as well, as then you kind of rip it out of their grasp and sort of swing it, around to the side and behind you.
And then I'm going to try and back out of the circle, taking the chair with me.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'm imagining you taking like a few steps with that. Because, of course, holding the chair is going to sort of restrict, how far you go a little bit. But, yeah, you kind of rip it and like pull it back out. And so they kind of slide out partway out of the sphere kind of with it, but then it's pulled out of their grasp.
Okay. And, yeah, that'll be my full turn then.
Okay. So, Lewin, you can hear this. You can, hear the person being drugged. You hear Farnak, I imagine, giving a grunt of effort as he's sort of halls, and you can probably sense sort of this heavy weight being moved and pulled.
So right now, Lewin's struggle is that he's trying to let this assassin escape because it'll be easier to let it show where it came from than like interrogate it to get the same information. But like in the middle of this fight, how do you do that without letting the assassin know as well? So I think he has to play the fool here and just be really bad at something he knows he's really good at.
Okay.
And he's going to keep attacking the assassin with no real intention of being successful.
Yeah, okay. And still sort of trying to do that, like kind of keeping the side towards the window, like open and inviting and all that. Okay.
Like I'm bad at cutting off his circle. I'm not playing his angles right.
All right.
There.
Yeah.
Angles.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and give me, I would normally err towards deception, but it could be performance, depends on you.
I'm going to stick to deception because
it feels like feints and...
Yeah, he's also like, he's got to sort of tell himself he's not good to, otherwise it's just second nature because he's just so skilled.
So he has to deceive
everything.
himself as much as he has to deceive them.
That's a 17.
A 17, okay. All right. So they're sort of pulled out of this bit of shadow. You're, fencing and driving, feinting, and this person's moving further away. And you can see as they sort of get pulled out and they see Farnak now, having this chair kind of out of reach. They just smile, sort of stand up, take a step backwards into the darkness, and there's a ripping and popping sound. And then Lady Vale, you can see them pop out into a bit of like gloomy shadow in the alleyway nearby, and it is your turn.
He's so happy.
That was gonna happen because I was like, they're going in there. They're not gonna go. She's tied up. They're not gonna go out the old-fashioned way. I am going to. Can I get to a vantage point? I want to follow them from the rooftops, so to speak.
Oh, okay. So we'll say that you sort of had hidden yourself like previously, so that they wouldn't be popping in and like see you standing there.
Yeah, that's just man. Do I want to live past one session? Just the real question. Yeah, that'd be great.
And they're gonna beat a pretty hasty retreat. I think they would look around a little bit, but they don't seem to see you where you've been, pressed behind some stuff. I would say go ahead and...
Oh, no, it's easier than that. I can just cast invisibility and follow them.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Yeah. Okay, so you are invisible. So
I can no longer detect magic because that concentration goes away, but I can make myself invisible and start following them.
All right, so go ahead and give me a stealth check with advantage.
Okay. Oh, my... Let's see, my stealth is going to be... Oh, that's a 17.
Okay. So they sort of quickly start to, scurry out of the shadow and, appear to be taking some shortcuts and sticking to the alleys, but they're pretty clearly like hightailing it out of here. So what's everyone else doing? We can sort of drop out of initiative at the moment. And pretty much like a second or two after you hear that popping sound, the darkness fades.
As soon as the darkness is gone, I'm going to like quickly explain myself to the others and let them know like letting this second assassin go was an on-purpose thing. I'm actually very good at my job. But like, if we do nothing, they're just going to keep coming. So we need to get ahead of them on this. That's why I figured we'd let them go. And that I was sort of really had my fingers crossed on Lady Aethervale having gone to do what she did and not just gone, which I also considered a possibility.
I don't believe him that he's good at this job.
Honestly, you could be telling me anything right now, because all I heard was Wilby go Panther and a few sword swipes, and I grabbed this. Now, what happens to the assassin who fails to kill the assassin who fails to kill the mark?
Right. So there's this complicated sort of flow chart that goes on. In all honesty, if they sent a second assassin, especially this soon, it means that they are more entrenched as an organization than I would have initially thought. This is not a mere contract if you're dumping resources into a failure.
I didn't know I was that popular. Ugh.
I didn't either, but we're all learning something tonight.
It's out of context, Barnock.
How high are we in the tower?
I'm assuming it is from the middle of the room where they were to the ground was no more than 500 feet at least. But Lady Vale, what floor would your rooms be on in that tower?
Probably the third or fourth.
Yeah. So
Like a good 120 feet off the ground.
Okay. While they're talking, I'm going to run out to the window and see if there's anything I can jump onto and see if I can see where this assassin was running to.
yeah. So I mean, there's the window. Probably with a little bit of effort, you could jump to some sort of like nearby ledge. I imagine there's a balcony somewhere nearby, either
Right,
on one of the
yeah.
other windows or something.
I'm going to try to see if I can follow.
Okay.
So I'll go leaping out the window.
All right.
While they're talking.
So you go ahead and do that. And as you survey around, go ahead and give me a perception check.
That is a 16.
All right. You don't see or hear anything, other than the stereotypical, like a bit of wind blows by, the dirt swirls. Right. You can see that, there was a disturbance of some sort, but you don't see or hear anything.
Okay, I'm just going to sit where I am and, sit at attention and watching, twitching my tail.
So Lady Vale, depending on how far you plan on following them, they sort of lead you through, twisting, doubling back on themselves quite a lot. They're clearly looking to, shake any pursuit, although you think it's sort of routine, not like they know that you're there. And then they come to a rather nondescript building, sort of, it's still in the new city, the new district. But they come to sort of a nondescript iron door set in the back of a small warehouse that they come to. They pull something out, sort of looks like they unlock the door, open it, sort of look around, and then slide in and go to close the door behind them.
I'm gonna wait here for a while. Probably leave a few. Which part of town am I in? I'd like to send a messenger back to the tower to get the others here.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be easy enough. You're still in the new city. It's a pretty big district. I mean, Serat itself is a huge city, right? Like 1 million people live here, so it's massive, particularly by the standards of the time. But so you're still in the new district. You've been led away probably at least, we'll say, like 15 minutes on foot. Have you sort of been shadowing them and staying well back? It's presumably, I forget how long invisibility lasts.
Sorry, it's an hour.
Okay, it's an hour. Yeah, so
I
you're
think
well
so.
within in that time. That sounds about right.
Let me double check though. I don't want to accidentally cheat. It's an hour. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that
an
too
hour.
long?
Okay. And so you're still there. You've moved into a bit of the district that there are some shops and like merchant warehouses in, mostly selling like kind of mundane goods. So places that sell carts, you know, I'm trying to think. You know, like it's almost like a business to business kind of area, right? It's people that sell goods to like other merchants. So it's a pretty businessy area, but that would include those carts, like the hover carts and things like that. So there are some like magical practitioners and things like that around, spell rights, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think you would be able to easily find someone to pay a messenger. I imagine the city kind of, there's like, you know, essentially like bike couriers kind of thing that are just all over the city on like little conveyances for like rapidly moving around. They're not bicycles. I'm not entirely sure what these conveyances should be. Some sort of quasi magical equivalent of a bicycle.
Um, like a mixture between like a horse and a unicycle.
Yeah, something
think-
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a single wheel. It's kind of kept upright by, you know, quasi some minor magical means.
It's got like a back cart area for transport.
Yeah, for just
And-
like small stuff.
And you,
Segway rickshaws.
but it moves because you have to lash, like magically connect yourself to like stray cats or rats that are going the way you want.
Don't mess with rats. Don't mess with rats.
Yeah, definitely not rats. People know better than to try and control the rats. But yeah, something, you know, it's like a phantom steed or something that's kind of like lashed to it. And they move, and it's like narrow, so it's smaller than a horse, because otherwise just ride horses. So yeah, you could flag someone down and for like a gold or two easily get them to carry a message back.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Okay. So back in the tower, so you guys are sorting. You wait for, you know, quite some time.
Yeah, I
Don't see anything.
I will wait out there until either I see something interesting or I feel the wild shapes going wear off, and I'll come back.
Perfect. And thank you, Mozvan, for just resubscribing 3 months in a row. Money in the bank.
Thank you.
Or, you know, sitting there before Twitch pays me out eventually.
Right.
Yeah, so you guys are sitting around. Yeah, Farnak, Lewin, what are you guys doing? The assassin one sort of pipes out and just says, well, much as I hate to admit it, you know, strange, bizarre way, you guys probably just saved my life. Because assuming standard operating procedure was being followed, while that was a extraction attempt, I wouldn't have much liked the consequences.
Oh, that sounds about right. And that's why I think you're better throwing your lot in with us. And I'm going to draw out one of the coins that was used to be her payment, and like press it into her palm.
While she's still kind of tied there. And one of the, you know, mechanical servants, arcane pieces of furniture, has resumed trying to feed her.
I'm hungry, so I'm going to intercept a couple of these.
It's all
If
delicious.
you didn't, I would have.
We're like
I
choosing
see-
which of the food we want before it gets to her.
The way I see it is, your death has absolutely no benefit to us. You benefit nothing by trying to kill me again. It won't get you back in their good graces after this. Unless it does, and I'm making a huge mistake, but we'll let you walk free because carrying you in a chair is going to hurt my back more than I'm willing to go through today.
So one of you can roll a persuasion check with advantage from the help of the other one.
What do you for charisma?
Hi, I'm +3 and I have expertise in persuasion.
I'm going to let the smooth talker do it. But I'll help.
All right. 13 plus 9.
All right. So she looks more like resigned than anything, when her features change. And she just heaves a sigh, and you see her fingers kind of like twitch around the platinum coin that you pressed into her hand, and just says, "In for a penny, in for a pound."
That's right. And if you stick nearby, I've the ambition to open up a dueling school. I could actually make you a half-decent fighter if you let me.
And she just kind of sort of chuckles a little bit and says, "Oh, I've got tricks. They just failed me on this occasion, I guess."
I'm going to look at the other two and say, I don't see why we need to keep her around. I say we let her go. If she acts the way I think she's going to do, she's not going to be any threat to us. And we don't have to keep watching these footstools try and shove creme brulee into her mouth.
Should we bring her with us? Because if we let her go, they're going to find her and kill her, and she's got the information we need.
Oh, I can make myself scarce.
No, I like what you're thinking, Farnak. Lady, you stay here in Lady Aethervale's apartment. It's yours, free run of the place. Anything you can find in there, just make yourself at home, take a nice long bath. I'm sure she's got some quite fancy...
Oh, you cut out.
Oh no. How about now?
You're back.
How much did you hear?
Most of it, I think just
Okay.
the last couple of words.
Yeah, absolutely anything of Lady Aethervale's that you'd like to use or soil or just generally, put... Marcy's making rude gestures at me off screen. I think the DM should probably do something about this inter-party conflict.
Like, give her inspiration? No, I mean...
I'm going to untie the drow and also grab a big chunk of cheesecake and put it in the bag of holding for later.
And she sputters a little
We
bit
didn't get
and
to
just
eat,
says,
I'm starving.
"Can someone tell these infernal contraptions to stop torturing me by shoving food in my mouth?" And this is all like with sputters of crumbs because they're still just trying to feed her.
Love to. Have no idea how. Good luck with that, though.
It is the gauntlet of having your run of the place, I suppose, the payoff here.
And about that time, there's a ring of the doorbell. You hear a loud chiming sound.
What is that? What is that sound?
That's downstairs, probably. Maybe just stay here because... Just maybe stay here. And I'm going to go answer the door.
Does
Yes, Marcy?
does Farnak not know what a doorbell sounds like?
No.
Oh, no.
They don't have doorbells in most places.
Oh, man. This is such culture shock. I love it.
I was envisioning that perhaps like a mirror on the wall sort of like swirls and then shows like a view of the messenger down at the front door who's like ringing the bell. Sort of the Nest Cam, as it were.
What is this?
And then
Wait here. This place is strange.
you tap on the glass, and then the person says, "Hello, yeah, I can hear you."
Right. We're definitely friends of Lady Aether Vale. What do you want?
I have a message from Lady Aether Vale.
Oh, right.
For
And what's the message?
She gave instructions that she is outside of a warehouse in the merchant shopping. I can give you the address. It's number 3, Blue Street West.
All right. Good lad. She didn't say that we owed you anything, did she?
Of course. 1 gold.
Well,
I'll flick it.
yeah.
I'll flick it at the mirror.
And it clinks off.
Oh,
That's rather inefficient.
it's really sad, Farnak. No, come. It's showing something that's not there. It's fine. And I like pick up the gold. And I say, I think we're supposed to meet the Lady Aether Vale. I think we found ourselves some assassins.
Come along, Kitty. Pat will be on ahead. And yeah. Leave the other assassin in the house getting food shoved in her face.
I think she probably eventually manages to find a way to barricade herself in a room and like hide away from them.
A fate worse than death.
Yeah, we gotta remember to come back here.
As
Or
you
not. We come back a month later. She's
as you guys are leaving, she also hollers out and she says, "By the way, not that anybody asked, but my name's Vanya.
I've already forgotten it.
You might want to know or need to know in future."
Is it like tradition not to ask people's names? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, it's a habit.
Great.
Yep. I think they traveled all the way south through 7 sessions of gaming and never once asked an NPC their name.
Yep.
Once.
Okay, maybe yeah.
Twice.
Once or twice.
Beautiful.
So off we go and enjoy your food, Vanya. At least you won't starve to death in here. Was this to Lewin? No, was this Lady Aether's the home she lives in with her bedroom and everything, or like do people here have multiple homes to live in?
No, I think this is sort of like Lady Aether Vale's summer, but only at night and only if she's not near the other better home.
Right, so she has a lot of money and a lot of influence.
Yes, and she is absolutely the worst. Just, oh, you would not believe.
Are you sure she's not your ex?
I am offended at the thought that I would stoop. I may be a gutter sword, right, but I don't get with that sort of filth.
But it seems you're going to be working with her for a while, so learn to get used to her.
I'll play nice.
Wilby seems to like her.
Wilby does. He seems an easygoing sort, isn't that right? And I ruffle the panther's head.
And so at this point, you guys are kind of making your way through these broad streets, right, in the new city. There's trees running down the middle. They're divided boulevard type streets. The buildings are neat, a lot of neat storefronts, and basically like New York brown houses almost, except they're not brown. They're mostly white or creamy whites and light grays, stone, that sort of thing. And like I said, nice storefronts. And then you start finding your way as you head towards Blue Street West into a more area where the storefronts cater, more to other merchants. It's like wholesalers and things like that. Warehouses with little shops out front. And you can see coming up, because you're on the street side, number 3, which is a warehouse called the Blue Coopers. most of the buildings that you've passed, if they have a name, are like blue something. They seem to sort of fit with the name of the theme of the street. And it is indeed a warehouse where there is like a nice large facsimile of a barrel out front.
I'm pretty sure we're not supposed to just burst on in here now. Where's the lady anyway? I heard the noise I'm familiar with that she used in the court earlier, but I haven't seen her since. Has she abandoned us?
I'm gonna be like on one of the rooftops, and I'm gonna send down my my snake.
Okay.
To go grab their attention.
Wait, how does it get down from the roof?
Oh,
Is this a real snake or a flying snake?
It's a flying snake. Thank you for asking. It's feathered. It's got these like light blue feathers, and it's a golden scaled thing, and it's got wings. I lovingly call it a feathered boa.
Oh.
It kind of zigs through that. Much like most snakes swim, this thing just kind of zigs on down to you and sort of flies around your head, and then points up with its snoot in the direction of where I am on the roof, and I go.
Dan, how long has it been since I wild shaped?
I'm gonna assume this took less time than it took Lady Vale to get here, because you came by a more direct route, but it still probably took you like 10 minutes or something.
Okay, so not that long. So I see this thing floating through the air.
Yeah.
I'm going kind of swat at it.
Oh, isn't that adorable?
How much do you swat at it?
Have we seen the feather boa before?
No, you have not.
But it seems to be pointing. I'm going to roll insight to see if I can figure out what this thing is doing. It's not attacking us, and its snoot is pointing in the air.
Yep.
Is this a sign of aggression? That's 13.
I'd say it reads more inviting. It's sort of coming towards you with a bit of a curious air, and then pointing its snout up in the air towards a rooftop.
If I divine sense, what am I going to get off it?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, would it be like Fey, like a Fey spirit, essentially?
Yeah, it's a familiar, so it would be a Fey spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna look up, and it appears to want us to go to the roof, but I don't see a ladder or stairs. I'm not able to teleport that high.
Do I see any way I can climb up to the roof?
I mean, I think if you searched around in the alleys and stuff, you'd find some like errant fire escapes and things like that. You know,
I'll try to get up there.
Yeah, for like a fantasy city, it has like kind of a modern vibe to it.
Okay.
So, you know, there's things like fire escapes and quarrelsome things in this part of the city, like building codes.
So I imagine I eventually get up there and see Lady Aetherville there.
I think she might still be invisible. Potentially.
Oh, probably. I could probably smell her though.
That's true. I'm not sure. That's up to Lady Vale whether she's still invisible or not. I know that she would still have time left on the spell. I think that was a yes.
I'm still invisible, but I could reach out and pet. Yeah.
Feel somebody petting you.
So while he's going up, while he's on his way up there, I'm just going to turn to Lewin and go, well, if they're in this warehouse, what would you say the odds are that we're being watched by them right now, standing here?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Farnak. Probably pretty good. But I think that if there were going to be trouble, there would have been some by now. So let's just pretend that we aren't being watched and take it a bit quietly from now on.
Let's go peruse the rooftops. I'd like to see a view of this place. I see Wilby has found a way up. Let us follow after him.
All right, and I'll climb up and join them on the roof.
All right. So by the time you're all up there, I'm assuming Feathered Boa sort of also returns and is, I don't know, is Feathered Boa like draped over invisible Lady Vale or like just circulating or?
Yeah, it's like it's draped over me, much like a flapper would wear a boa, but I'm still invisible, so you just see this sort of hanging snake just
Oddly enough, this is not the strangest thing I've seen in this city. This is actually quite normal by comparison to everything else.
This is also entirely on brand. So you guys climb up to the rooftop, look around. Most of the buildings here are 2-3 stories, including like the warehouses. You can see and it's probably at this point sort of moving towards from late afternoon into early evening, moving toward dusk. And you do see some activity. So the storefront part of the warehouse, you can see someone moving around the shop, a couple of people moving around, doing some work on barrels, putting them together. Occasionally someone comes in, does some business, leaves. It all seems relatively normal, at least, observing it for a short period of time.
So are we like SWAT entering this warehouse? Is that because I had imagined it was going to be useful to find out where these assassins are coming from. And honestly, if we can pin down that this is truly like their place, going and swinging might not be a bad idea.
Now, and I think that you would probably know, and all of you, because everyone's had interactions. The Shadowed Hand is like a network that essentially exists in the whole broader Teresian League. So it's not like a small band. It's, like a huge, mafia-like organization.
Right.
So,
right.
But they operate often in sort of, at least especially the assassins, in like cells. So there's a good chance that the warehouse, it might be a base of operations for like that particular cell.
Yeah,
This could also be an area where they could smuggle themselves out in a barrel if they're being pursued.
Right. No, I guess the question is, do we sit on this information now knowing where they are, or do we hit them now while we can?
We should at least wait until after the closing so we don't hit any people in there innocently just buying barrels.
That's fair. That makes sense.
I mean, it begs the question, do we need to hit them at all right now?
Oh, there you are.
Hello.
The snake speaks. No, I'm joking. I know your voice.
I'm making no. I mean, they want to hurt you, but we know they have connections with House Nandar. This information is important. We can use this for various things throughout the city. Sure, somebody has a contract on you. They are going through here. Are you planning on killing these people, or do you want to figure out... You already know who put the contract. What are you trying to do?
They've already failed twice. I just wish to know where they are so I know where to look if they come after me. I honestly want to continue on my mission to regain my youth. I'm 62 years old, and I'm not in any real shape to be going on these treks anymore, especially taking on the individuals that hired the assassins to kill me.
Here's the thing.
This is information.
Here's the thing. You keep saying that you need this thing of eternal youth because you're old. Just a thought, throwing this one out there. Instead of going through all that trouble, you could just make some friends who are willing to take up the slack that happens inevitably to every creature when they get older.
Because I hope that when all of this is over, I can live and find my family again.
And you don't think you can find friends who would go with you?
I brought Willoughby and I brought Cyrus, who has done his thing. We left 2 behind and replaced them with 2 more, so I believe I am making friends. And if you have any underground connections, that would be wonderful. Little bit iffy on the Adamantine Circle, where they've already robbed us once and taken
Okay.
one of our friends once.
I have an idea that might buy you some time. But it will cost you. We get you a hat of
As
disguise.
it usually does.
Yes. We get you a hat of disguise. This should help for a while, but my family is extremely wealthy. We might be able to buy out one of the contracts on your head. For a time, this will get you some time to find what you need. But I can't do this for free. I recognize your armor. It is the Knight of Stars, no?
That's what I've been told in the last few weeks. I found it not really knowing the story behind it. It also came with a shield, and I pulled the family crest shield out of the bag of holding. You remember what it looks like, because I...
Yep. And it is unmistakably the family crest of the the House of Nindaris, which is the house of the Grand Dukes of Serat. A little different than the current emblem, because the person who took over when the High King and the previous Grand Duke died and is the new Grand Duke was from like a minor like cadet branch of the house. But there is similarities. So there's the hawk, which is sort of the emblem that Serat uses in general, and it's like a gray and maroon color, like a maroonish background, a gray hawk, and there's like a boat sort of underneath it as well. A very lean, sort of pirate-looking vessel.
But
I'll
yeah,
take you up on the offer of the hat, but I would not put it upon you to cover this payment to the assassins. I don't want you to have to deal with them anymore.
Oh no, I would not. My family would. And in the same vein, I can't ask you for what you would pay them back with. They would have to ask you their own favor for that.
In your own words, they don't particularly like the non-full-blooded humans.
No, they don't. But I think the armor you're wearing might be enough to persuade them that you are the right man for the mission that they need.
We'll do the hat for now. We'll put the rest, keep it on the table. But if we can just disguise me for now, I know I stick out like a shiny thumb.
Very shiny. We would need to go to the same place for your hat of disguise, and you might need to do something for them too. These things have various costs with them. Sometimes they don't work so well, so sometimes you only get one disguise out of them, sometimes more. But I would take you to the Adamantine Circle in this case, and they would give you a task in exchange for payment.
But in the meantime, presently we should figure out what to do with the barrel company. Now, my thought would be, and one of Wilby's best talents is sneaking. He's performed very well getting information for us before we go rushing in headlong, expecting this to be a den of thieves and assassins. Maybe we should have a cat or a gecko go in and have a look around. And then we can decide with whatever information he brings back.
Well, if
The
Wilby's...
contract on my head is not going to end itself. If we kill them, the contract is still there. We could kill the entire Assassin's Guild. But I don't think that's realistic.
Well, if Wilby is truly that good at sneaking, that's not a bad idea.
What do you say, Kitty?
I'll just walk over and, kind of headbutt Fardak and sit there and look around.
I personally think that this is a suicide mission to go into a den of assassins. We are better off perhaps trying to find one and leverage, because we already have one. Where's the other one? I saw a couple of them leave. Is the one still there?
Oh, Lady Aethervale. Oh, you are going to be so mad. Just so absolutely livid.
Hi.
Last I saw her, she was barricaded in one of the closets, and they were continually trying to feed her cheesecake and other strange things. But she was left in your house.
That is okay. I just love helping people get out of the closet.
I do not get that reference.
Okay, so, well, if not sneaking in to get a lay of the land, Lady Vale, what are you suggesting? We kidnap one, we use the one we've got to what?
We already have one.
All right. Look, it's not exactly my forte. I'm good at talking with people, but the nuances of politics sort of whoosh over my head. I'll leave that on.
We already have one. We know that they have deals with House Nandar, which I can get into very easily. If you'll want to go into this place, you feel right at home. I will be here. I'll keep watch for you, whatever. I'm not going into an assassin's den.
I am currently more intrigued by talking with alchemists as it pertains to what I'm looking for. And they may be the ones to give us information on this particular location.
There may be a two-pronged attack we can have here. Because that's a good idea. You know, gods above know that I'm not eager to lose this beautiful, smooth skin of mine. Rather, it's not my forte. So I think that I can probably leverage my forte in some of the darker places of this city as you leverage the more hoity-toity ones. As you're finding leverage in your world, I will be putting out the message in mind that Farnak is not going to go down.
You know, two people who seemingly hate each other, I just want to say I very much appreciate both of your efforts.
I'm not really good at sincerity either, so I'm struggling on how to take that one.
Not just as it is. I'm not really a blunt person. I'm not really much for the nuance. I prefer the blunt approach. I say it as it is. You're helping me, but you've been paid, and I'm sure you'll pay it back as well. And she's helping for, I'm assuming, Lord Noble. Something to do.
She's got her plans, don't you doubt. She looks all helpful and smart, but she's a viper, like that furry snake of hers.
I'm right here. Oh my god. I am standing right here in front of you.
Sorry, you're just so transparent all the time.
That's not a side joke. I don't understand.
Yes, it was. I did.
I wouldn't be mocking a woman. I wouldn't be mocking a woman who could kick you in places and you will not see it coming.
That's all right. It's a small target.
Well, that's very big of you. You admit your shortcomings.
He really wants to be a stand-up guy, you know?
Oh, dear.
Okay, so what Lewin's suggesting is that in the same way that Lady Vale is looking for sort of political leverage in her circles, Lewin is going to make it clear that Farnak is no longer an island, and that Lewin is going to try and put a little bit of the fear into those who would come after him, so that they'll have to spend more time planning things, and that's less time executing plans.
Yeah, so you kind of got the guy
2
go
attacks have
high,
already failed.
go high, go low, right? You're putting things out through the seedier elements of the city, and Lady Vale through her more upper crust contacts. All right, sounds like a plan, and I think we will get back to that and the further machinations of what you guys get up to in 2 weeks. So we will end
Yes.
it there for the night at our 2-hour mark. And so thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks as always to my fabulous players who make this so entertaining. And most of this session I could just sit back and occasionally throw something in and just let you guys go wild with it, which is what I
That
like
was fun.
best.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing Wilby do his little stealth routine because he always comes up with interesting animals and methods.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I say the will be transforming into things? I really like a druid a player who buys into like not just taking on the form of the animal, but also kind of some of the attitude. I think some players tend to make it just like a hat they wear, but I always like druids is like.
And one thing you'll probably come to see is Wilby in wild shape is getting more and more feral as we go along. So,
Oh.
and
Ace.
I think at a certain point he's going to start getting afraid of his wild shapes, which will be fun.
Oh, it will be a such a nice boy. He's
Wait,
not a boy.
Well, he is, but then when he's a panther, he like bites people, and I can see Will be getting scared of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Biting is affectionate. It's like holding hands. Both with your mouth and with more blood.
That's an interesting matchup.
All right. Well, and so more layers and goings on have been revealed. Some more information about Farnak's unfortunate blundering into his magical armor and shield, which have some deeper meaning to them in this place. And I'm excited to see how that will play out. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you in 2 weeks. And adios.